Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening. It's August 20th, and you have reached Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host, Rhonda Lawson, or should I say Dr. Rhonda Lawson, will be joining us shortly. We have an amazing show again for you tonight, and before we bring on our first guest, which is actually two guests because they're co-authors of a book. I just wanted to give you some updates about the upcoming National Black Book Festival. For those who have registered as participating authors, you're part of an amazing group. This is one of the biggest groups we've had in terms of registered authors. So there's a lot of people from all over the United States. And also, of course, vendor space sold out the first part of July. So the vendor space is gone. But if you want to attend, we still have a few VIP registrations left. And once they sell out, we won't be adding any. So, and we're going to have an amazing children's festival on that Saturday, the 19th of October, where every child who attends will get one free book. And we have a variety of books. So we're really looking forward to it. And it's rapidly approaching. It's only, I think, 9 weeks away or something like that. So it's coming up. So anyway, our first two guests are going to be joining us now, and they are Ronnette White and Zahara Williams. They are co-authors of a book called Chronicles, and it's a book about relationships. So they are going to tell us what their book is about and why they wrote it. And they also, I believe, are co-owners of a business or partners in business as well. So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Okay. So are you all co-owners of a business or partners in a business as well as co-authors of the book?
Yes, we are. We are co-owners of a boutique private practice. We're based in Texas. However, we also service clients in Michigan and Ohio.
Okay, so what kind of private practice is it?
Well, we offer individual and couples counseling. So that's our niche.
So it's a counseling business.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it could have been a law firm, could have been accountants.
That's right.
That's why I wanted to. So, now how old? What's the name of your company?
Ivory Park.
Okay, Ivory Park. And what prompted you? You know, when you name a business, there are all kinds of motivations for it. I've been in business many years, and I've had 3 businesses. So, but this Kush City is the most recent and the longest because Kush City's been in existence for 26 years. So we've been around a long time. So when you start a business, the reason why we chose our name was we were in the book retail at the time. Now we do more marketing and we put on the National Black Book Festival. But we wanted a word. We were looking for a word that said Black without using the word Black. And Kush is a tribe. It's a Black tribe, biblical Black tribe. And so that's why we named it Kush City. We were looking for it. Actually, we looked up kush.com because we started right when the internet took off.
Okay.
And it was taken. Kush.com was taken. So then we had to say, okay, what can we add to Kush to make it work? And we named it Kush City. So, you know, there's a story behind every business name. So for Ivory Park, what's your story for Ivory
Park?
Zahara.
Okay, sure. I will. So we were thinking about something, obviously something with meaning for us. I'll start with park. Park, thinking about a place that you go to find peace and tranquility, clarity, whether you're taking a walk or you're sitting on a bench. And so that's what we like for our private practice to represent, is going to a place or coming to a place, which is us, our business, to find that and just sitting in a space that is comfortable for you. Ivory has double meaning for us. There's significance for me, just a family name of one of my favorite great aunts who is no longer with us. Her last name was Ivory, but then we also thought about the significance of the strength of the ivory tusk. And so that's how we incorporated Ivory Park.
Okay, see, I told you there's a story behind every business
There
name.
is. Absolutely.
So tell us about your book. And do you have a copy of the book that you can show us? Connection Chronicles.
Of course we do.
Okay. So is this your first book that you all have published together?
It is, yes.
Okay. Have you all published any books individually? Any
Yes,
other
we have.
books? Oh, okay.
We've been busy. Yes, we've published a couple of books together. Then I've published individually, and then also with another group. So
Okay. So do you focus on nonfiction in terms of like motivational self-help type books?
yes, a lot of it is about the exploration of self or professional growth and development, healing and recovery, and so those are our spaces that we delve into.
Okay.
I mean, you can't talk to a therapist without talking about healing and recovery.
That is true. So now do you all, what kinds of patients do you see? Do you focus on a particular, some people focus on trauma, some people focus on family counseling, some people focus on like more medical problems like schizophrenia or something like that. So what do you all focus on for your counseling?
So Ivory Park, really, we individually have a lot of skill set, but we really work with adults. So that's one of our primary populations. And we don't work with young children or adolescents. We work with adults, primarily focusing on depression, grief, trauma for individuals. But we also, of course, spend a lot of time working with couples and families, working through trauma healing, connecting emotionally, intimacy, etc.
Okay. And do you all, when you all have sessions, are you both in session with them, or do you all individually see patients, or how does that work?
Oh no, we see them in, she has her own set of patients. I have my own set. Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds very overwhelming.
How do people find you? Like people who need the counseling? How is it mostly referrals?
We're on a couple of directories that people go to. So Psychology Today is one. We also have Therapy for Black Girls is also a directory. Therapy for Black Men. I'm Gottman trained for couples therapy, so I'm on the Gottman network, referral network. And I believe, Ronnette, you're on Therapy Den and
Yes. And Black female therapist, and I am IBCT trained, so I'm on their directory as well.
Okay.
For couples.
Therapy used to be something, well, therapy is fairly, I won't say new. It's more common in our community than it was in years past.
yes.
Because, in years past, people, one, a lot of them didn't have money for therapy. Two, they thought if they prayed about it or whatever, then it would, and I'm a strong believer in prayer. But the same way faith without works is dead. When you pray, then you need to get up with a plan. You need to, and there are medical professionals that are here to help for a reason. And we should not shy away from seeking help if we need it.
That's actually one of the reasons why we opened Ivory Park, is that we were discussing the importance of showing up for our community, being able to be present and provide therapy services, specifically during the pandemic, when we found that there were a lot of people, Black women, men, wanting to get into healing spaces, and there were not a lot of clinicians that looked like us. So that was a really important reason why we expanded our Ivory Park services to include therapy specifically.
So tell us about the book, and one, what prompted you to write a book, and what you talk about in the book about connections? I know your subhead is it's a workbook and
Yes.
it's based on relationships, but
Yes.
what prompted you to put it together in a book? Whatever you were, the help you were making available to people, what made you put it in a book form?
I think there are a couple of reasons behind wanting to formulate our thoughts and experiences in a book. So one is about accessibility, because one of the things that you just mentioned was the price. And so yes, there are a lot more people that are investing in and engaging in therapy. There's still a lot of us that are not. And so sometimes a book might be a soft opening to the therapeutic process and exploration, and they can kind of do it on their own terms and time, whether it's individually, even though it's a couples workbook, it's something that they can work on individually, particularly when they've seen patterns in their relationships and they're trying to figure out, I'm really struggling with intimacy and vulnerability and conflict. Those are just to name a few, co-parenting. And so we made it not just something that you read, but something that you write and process through for yourself as you're navigating the journey of life in whatever area it is that you would like to work on. And so it can be done individually, but also with couples in mind for sure. And working together is really important, an important aspect of it for those that are doing the couples work. So Ronnette, you might want to add some more thoughts to that.
I think one of the key things for me is the communication aspect. You know, as we talk about like our own upbringings and what we were taught about, you know, being seen and not heard, a lot of us didn't formulate our voices, or we formulated them in unhealthy ways. And so we really wanted to give the information about how communication is important to the relationship dynamic, how you show up in your relationship also impacts what you get out of it. So really looking at ways in which we can improve personal accountability, self-awareness, and of course, coping skills.
Okay, so you all work with a lot of couples
We do.
counseling, and do they come in together, individually, both?
All of the above, D.
Yes. I was going to say, sometimes it's one person starting and you notice that the focus seems to be really about the relationship and what they're, challenged with or experiencing and what they need to work on. And so it may evolve from there. And then there are other times where, one party it's we got to do something. We have exhausted all options and this is it, right? We hate to be, I don't like hate such a strong word. We don't necessarily like to be the last option for people, because it takes them a lot more work, not necessarily us, but them a lot more work to get back to a stable place where they feel like it's a healthy environment for them. But yeah, we see the full gamut of people in different stages of relationships.
Yeah. And of course, like one of my favorite groups, of course, are people who are coming in for premarital work. I think that's one of my favorites. Personally, I love to talk to people before there's a storm, right? Like being able to prepare for it, put that toolkit together, put that first aid kit together. We're not running into the bunker at that moment. We're really looking at how do we forecast and prepare ourselves for the life journey that we have in front of us. So I think, yes, exactly. We want to talk to people in all the phases of life.
And not 30 days before you get married. I'll just put that out there because we get that a lot. Oh, it's a checkbox on their list of things to do, which is good. However, you really want to be a little more proactive to give it time and space to really work through and have an understanding of each other so that you can be prepared and hone those skills.
So 30 days is too short, you're saying?
It is. Absolutely.
It's tough.
But we get it.
It can be done. It can be done, but we call those intensives because they're not the traditional therapy model. It's usually very compact with a lot of hours all at one time, really delving into deeper conversations and meaning.
Okay, so for the premarital, are they starting to get cold feet, or are they just wanting to enhance their relationship before saying I do?
All of the above, really. We have some that just have hit a little glitch on the path, as they're working through the nuances of moving in together, talking about having the real conversations as they're preparing for this life transition. And so they realize that, oh, we didn't really delve there and we're having some challenges. And so they'll come for that. For some, again, it is that, oh, we need to go to premarital counseling before we get married because someone asked about it, or, it'll help reduce our costs for the marriage license. So we want to check that off the box. And then
Does
some
it?
who just,
Does it count for the
That's a real thing.
it's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
It wasn't okay. It wasn't when I got married, but either time. I got married. I've been married 32 years actually next
Okay.
Awesome.
but I was married 4 years before
Mhm.
the first one was 4 years.
Mhm.
And we went to a counselor. But it was because of something that happened where I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. And so
Mhm.
we went, and it was close to the wedding time.
Mhm.
And we could have made a different decision, but we didn't. So it didn't work out anyway. But we had I had a big wedding at home planned. I had, one of the PK, the
Mhm.
pastor, I was the youngest daughter, but my sister was already married and she didn't have a wedding. She got married like the day after she graduated from college at the chapel at school. So mine was the wedding. And
It
so
was the wedding.
it
Yeah.
was good.
They had all their eggs in that basket.
And everything was beautiful. It just was the
Mhm.
wrong room.
That
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
happens.
it does. So, the counseling, I do you find that when people come, it's kind of to validate what they already are thinking, to get validation for what their thoughts already are.
For some, that's true. There are some where they want that outside source to support what they have in mind, and for others, they are saying, well, they're really on the fence and they're not sure. And
A third,
therapy
like
allows them to
an
open up their
objective
eyes,
opinion,
and their
Mhm.
perspective
someone who's
on.
not emotionally invested in
Mhm.
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
answers are.
Mhm.
So
Because like you said, your family was very invested in getting you down that aisle, right? Like they had a big wedding plan. They've been waiting for the baby girl to get married. And so they were going to push you down that aisle one way or the other. But having an outside of perspective may have given you the opportunity to kind of say, okay, but what is the wedding versus the marriage, right? Because those are two
that's what I
distinctly
tell
different
people.
things.
A wedding
Hmm.
is a one day event. A marriage is a
Yeah.
lifetime, or should be a lifetime. And actually, my parents, this was something that happened. This was
Hmm.
years ago, but the night before my wedding, when I
Hmm.
got married the first time, I had a nightmare, and
Hmm.
I dreamed that my wedding dress was dirty, and I
Hmm.
couldn't get the dirt off of it. And so when I got up that morning, I went to breakfast. My parents were there, and I told them about the dream. And my dad said, "It's not too late."
Hmm.
So they would have been fine because they already could see some things I couldn't see, and
Hmm.
because love is blind. So, and
Hmm.
then after you get divorced, and everybody tells you what they saw, but they wouldn't tell you when you were telling what.
How is that helpful? That's not helpful, right? Not helpful, but
No.
that's into trusting your intuition. Like these
Yeah,
signs
Hmm.
come up, and then the affirming
yeah,
message from your father are all signs,
yeah.
but because that feeling, right, and that
Hmm.
desire for this thing
Yeah,
that
and
people
you
care
don't
about.
want to like embarrass the parents. You feel like it's
Mm,
just too much at stake at that point,
Mhm.
so you go ahead and do it. And when
Yeah.
when you're young, you're really idealistic about things more so.
Mhm.
When you
yeah,
get older,
it's true.
the second time around, your eyes are open.
Mhm.
It should be anyway. but you know, you live and
Mhm.
learn. It's all part of living and learning.
For sure, absolutely.
So is there a pattern with, I had planned to spill any beans tonight, but I guess maybe you all's counseling skills are such that I felt comfortable sharing it with you. And then via Zoom, I'm sharing it with everybody. But have you noticed a pattern in terms of when you counsel people who are married already? In this, it's a certain number of years when into the marriage. Have you seen like a pattern of that? How many
Are you
years?
talking about like that 7-year itch
Yeah,
or those
yeah,
type
or
of
yeah,
things?
yeah.
Okay.
You all seen
There's some of that. I think I think what I will tell you, what I've noticed is the 7-year itch actually got a little bit earlier, specifically with the pandemic, because a lot of people were at
5 years?
home. People were
Okay,
at home. And I think
okay.
for the first time, people were around their partners 24/7. And that really changed the way that they saw themselves, the way they saw their partner. Communication gaps that may have been pre-existing were now like on full display. And so a lot of people who probably would have come in at that 7-year mark ended up coming in a little bit sooner, just because things felt like they were heating up a little bit faster.
That's interesting. And a lot of times people when they're married, they're busy,
Mm-hmm.
with their careers,
Mm-hmm.
even if one person is stay at home, they're
Mm-hmm.
still busy doing different things, and then they kind
Yep.
of come together at the end of the day and
Yeah.
for that time. And sometimes people end up growing apart
Mhm.
because of that. They have to figure out how to find a way to be together. A lot of times, once you have kids, the kids become the focus,
Absolutely.
of everything. So everything's centered around the children.
Mhm.
And then some people, once their kids get grown, it's like they have to figure out what to do with each other
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
everything's been focused on the kids.
Oh yeah, life transitions. I love this is one of
Yes.
my favorite things to talk about. So don't let me go too far, okay?
But
But
no, talk about it. Talk about
but life transitions, right? I think about even like career changes, family members getting sick, aging parents, adult
it.
children, right? Navigating that new space of like, oh, they used to be my children that are like in my house under my roof, and now they have their own roofs. So how do we switch from this like hovering parent to adult relationship parental person? There's just so many life transitions that show up. Retirements are huge. We see a lot of people come in when retirements are happening or looming, and people are like, I have no idea what to
Mhm.
do with my time and who I am, and what to do with my partner who no longer has, a 90 plus hour work week. Now they want my time and I don't have time. I'm still working. So there's lots of life transitions that show up that bring people into counseling. And I think that's a part of what's so beautiful about it is there's no one rule for anybody. There's no one glove fits all. It's truly just relationship by relationship.
That is true. My husband and I have been in business together actually since before we got married. So
Mhm.
we were together all day, every day for our until he retired
Mhm.
5 years ago. So people used to ask me, "How do you do that? How are you
Yeah.
with your spouse all day, every day?" Um, and I tell them, one, you have to like your spouse.
Mhm. Mhm.
Love you. You have to love them, but you also have to like them. And you have to like
Mhm.
their personality and like being around them. But two, we had different skill sets, so we weren't
Mhm.
in each other's faces.
Mhm.
For long. We each had our own offices, and we had
Mhm.
our own things we were doing for the business.
Mhm.
So we made it work. And then, when it came to parenting, it was real helpful because we have one daughter, she's 28 now, but when she would go to school, my husband took care of transportation. So he would take her to school and pick her up, and he would do the sports stuff. And, I would do the other stuff, the sleepover stuff with friends, they call them play dates now, but they didn't call them that when she was growing up. We didn't have play dates, but yeah, I did more of the social stuff. He did, the sports stuff, and it worked out. So, but communication is very important, and
Mhm.
compatibility is very important too. You have to,
And balance,
yeah,
right? I think you
yeah,
really just highlighted the importance of each other, balancing each other out and not overstepping each other, like recognizing your strengths and my weaknesses, and how do we work together and collaborate on those things.
yeah, and trust is important too.
Mm-hmm.
Trust is very important in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you can't trust your spouse or your significant other, then, that's a big gap, and there's always questions, and that's when some people start, stalking or, following people. Now, and see, they didn't have social media when we got married either. So now people are kind of stalking each other on social media. Uh, it's a different world. Now we had
Yeah.
to meet people face to face. There wasn't any, internet, no apps or whatever the dating stuff is. You met somebody, either, there was a connection or there wasn't. And sometimes it's a short-term connection, but you got to get a feel for them,
Mm-hmm.
because people can tell stories on
Mm-hmm.
apps. And by stories, I mean lies. So
Mm-hmm.
And some do it in person too. So,
that is true, but you can at least, they can't tell you that they're 6'2" when they're really
Yeah,
five,
those
5'5".
things you can see.
Because
Absolutely. Absolutely.
if you see them in person, they can't lie about their physical appearance at least.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, show us a copy of the book again and tell us how, if people can get the copy of the book, as well as if people are looking for counseling. Now, do you all do Zoom? Do y'all do things on, I know they had the medical stuff where you can just do it online. I
Yeah,
forgot
so
what it's called.
we have it's called telemental health. So we
Okay,
do
yeah.
offer telehealth services because we do service multiple states in throughout the state of Texas as well. But we also do, as Ronnette mentioned earlier, we do intensives. So those are in person because they're a lot more involved, and it's hours spent at a time on like a Friday or Saturday and Sunday to help couples who really need to get in and do the work because they have very busy schedules and times constraints that don't allow them to do something, that's say on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Then intensives are better for those. So we will offer those in person. As for our book, it is on Amazon. So you can go on Amazon and type in Connection Chronicles. It's a workbook for cultivating strength, passion, and purpose in relationships. You can also type our names in Amazon. It should pop up that way. And also on our website, Ivory Park, IVORYPARKPLLC.com. You can purchase there as well, but then also find out about our therapeutic services, our workshops as well, and then a retreat that we are looking forward to in 2025.
Oh, okay. Now, is this a couples retreat or what?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so you gave the website. Normally Rhonda would type it into the chat, and she's not on. So
Okay.
yeah, but I will make sure that it gets typed in there. Or you all can type it in yourselves after the segment is over. You can
Sure.
just go in the comments and just type
And sure. We can do
your
that.
website in there for people who want to get in touch with you. And you can put a link to your book on Amazon too, your Amazon book link
Awesome.
as well.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing you in Houston here
Okay, so you all
shortly.
are going to be at the National Black Book Festival,
Yes, we
which
will
We
be.
will.
coming up very soon. It's rapidly approaching. So we look forward to seeing you there.
All
Awesome.
right. Look forward to it as well. Thank you so much
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing, and good luck with you in your practice.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it.
Have a
Thanks
good
for
one.
connecting with us today, Gwen. Appreciate
Okay.
your willingness to be vulnerable with us.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I'm transparent about the things I want to be transparent about.
Noted.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so those were our first guests for tonight. And I didn't mention it at the beginning of the show. We do have one book to give away. We're giving away, this is an advanced reading copy, and we gave away one before, but this is Kwan's book, and I don't know, it's called False Idols, and it just came out a couple of weeks ago, I think. He is going to be one of the featured authors at the National Black Book Festival. So we're going to do the trivia about that book later on in the show. And before we bring on our next guest, I do want to check my because normally Rhonda would be on if she was coming on. So I just want to check to see if she messaged me, and she normally messages me on my Facebook page, which so I need to check. I just want to know for myself if she's going to be on later or if she can't come at all. So bear with me 1 minute so I can check my messages and see if she's messaged me. She said she's going to be a little late. Okay. All right. So she will be coming on. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure, because, you know, I have to be in a different mindset if I want to do the entire show myself versus, you know, it's different when you have somebody that you have as a co-host, and you have to, it's different. It's all the energy comes from you. Whereas when you're as a co-host, you can share some of the energy. So anyway, it's all good. So our next guest has been on the show before. And I think it was maybe 1.5 years ago. Her name is Sharon C. Cooper, and she has on her Black Authors Matter t-shirt. I have on one of our new t-shirts. I don't know if I need to, let me stand up and see if I can show. This is our t-shirt, Men Who Wrote, and we have 6 t-shirts now. This one is Men Who Wrote, and it has current authors on it. Ta-Nehisi Coates, Kwame Alexander. We only have like the first name and last initial, Walter Mosley. And then the other 2 names are James McBride. And what's the last name? Oh, Colson Whitehead. Okay. So those are, this is one of our shirts. And we will have them all, our full line of shirts at the National Black Book Festival for those who are attending this year. And so Sharon, welcome back to Black
Thank you.
Authors
Thanks
Matter
for having
TV.
me.
Yeah, and you were on like 1.5 years ago, I think. I'm guessing. But
I think it's been at least a year.
yeah, it has been at least a year. So you were on with another book that had come out recently, and now you have a new book. So and this is book 6 in a 6-part series.
It is, yes, it is. I had to think about it because I'm on a different series now, so it's like
okay, so there's
trying to keep us straight.
Now, are you indie? Are you indie published?
I am indie, and I have, well, actually, my contract for traditional has finished, so technically, yes, I'm indie.
Okay, now is this
hybrid?
Series, is this one of your indie series?
This is.
Okay, all right. And this one is about the Jenkins and Son Construction Company. So it's about a family business, I guess. I'm guessing.
It is.
Okay.
It is part of, it's actually a spinoff. It's the Jenkins and Sons Construction Series, but it's a spinoff from my Jenkins Family series. And the family, it's a family-run construction company. And each story, the first series had 5 stories, and this series has 6 stories. And in each one, just try to, share the family dynamics, how close the family is, and how they kind of, how they come together to run this business, basically.
So how many, so on the cover of this one is The Cost of Love. Do you have a copy of it with you?
I do.
Andy, so you can show the cover to the audience.
Yeah, it might show up backwards, so I'm not sure how that works.
No, it's forwards.
Oh,
it's only backwards if it's Zoom. but if it's live stream Zoom, it's
Okay.
forward.
Okay.
I learned that when I did some live Zooming, and I did Zoom, but it wasn't live on Facebook.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Oh, I did Facebook Live. That's what it was. I did Facebook Live, but it wasn't on Zoom. So Facebook Live is backwards.
Okay.
But Zoom, and then you do Facebook, is forward.
Okay.
And I have no idea why, but that's just like some trivia. I learned that. So I like the show the cover again. One thing that caught my attention about the cover were the colors, the color matching that you did. Because
Yeah.
there's an art to doing these covers, and I always like to look at people's covers. But you matched that green with, it looks like some green at the top.
Yep, it's blue and black.
Okay.
Actually, I have to give all credit to the cover designer, Liz. She designed it. Usually what she'll do is ask me what I want, and usually I don't know what I want. And then she tosses out some ideas. And so these were a set of colors she hadn't used yet with the other, one of the things about having a
Okay.
series is you
They
eventually
have to
start running out
complement
of
each other.
colors.
Yeah, you want to tie them in together somehow.
Yep, but not have them all the same either.
Right,
So she did a
right.
fabulous job, Liz.
Yeah, it's really,
Liz
really, and
designed, yeah.
even the font, I really like the font.
Thank you. Thank
So-
you.
So, and you only have one person on there, so this is the central character for this particular story.
It is. I looked at it as his story. With that whole series, there's only the heroes on the cover. And then in most cases, when I'm writing it, I'm thinking this is their story. So.
Okay, so it's Jenkins and Sons construction. So that means that all of the main characters are males. Is that right?
In this series, yes, the Jenkins family series, the first 5 books were the granddaughters. It was the patriarch retired, and so none of his children wanted to take over the business, so he passed it down to his grandchildren. And so the Jenkins family series, those 5 books are for the granddaughters who ran the construction company. They each were trade certified, or they each had a trade. There was a plumber by trade, carpenter, electrician, etc. And so then once I finished their 5 stories, did the spinoff with the Jenkins and Sons, and it's the grandsons now who, for the most part, are running the business, but they're all running it together. They all have different roles, basically.
Okay. So do you have a business background or family business background? What made you focus on?
I do. I'm a sheet metal worker by trade. Haven't done construction in probably 35 years, though. And then I have a business background. I assisted in running our family's business. It was a pretty large childcare center in Wisconsin, and that was maybe 20 years ago. And so now I just write about that stuff.
Okay, because I have a business background, to write about business, unless you just take it from the drama part. Some people, like the family business, for example, the Carl Weber series, they have a business, but the story is more about the drama than it is about the business itself.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it sounds
I think
like
mine's combined both.
Okay.
There's a little drama, but not Carl Weber's level.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about, since this is book 6, give us a little synopsis, a snippet of what happens, because people might want to go back and start. I know for me, when I read a series, I like to start at the beginning. So,
Okay.
and if I don't realize it's a series and then I read it out of order. Once I read the book, then I want to still go back and start, even if I started in the wrong place, if I started in the middle. So tell us about the first installment. How does it get started? And then bring us up to date with the 6th.
Okay, first let me say, with all of my books, every single book I've written, I try to write them as standalones, because that often happens where someone might find me and I might be on book 5 in one of the series. The good thing is readers can pick up any one of my books and read it without being lost. So if they haven't read the other 4 or 5 books, they won't be lost. I definitely wanted to just say that. This particular series starts with Love Under Contract. And this is that is Nick and Samira's story. And it's when, because I had mentioned that the Jenkins family started with the girls, basically, the granddaughters. And so when that 5th granddaughter got married and relocated to New York, she kind of had to pass the baton to the next, cousin who was in line, basically. And then that's where Nick came in. So it starts, the series kicks off with Nick and Samira, and it kind of introduces a little bit more about the business. The grandfather, who's the patriarch of the family, who they all look up to. He's this bigger than life kind of guy, but loves his family. And so it showed him, basically teaching him. There were some scenes where just schooling him on, how to handle business situations that came up during that story. That story had a little bit more drama than some of the other ones. And it just kind of set the tone. I attempted to set the tone for the rest of the stories in that series. He has a twin brother, and so Nick is, I think his role is, he's a sheet metal worker by trade, but he manages the company now. And then his brother, who has a finance background, he's the CFO of the company. So he's the second book. The third book, who's the third book? I can't remember who the third book was. I think the third book was one of the carpenters. That might have been Jerry, then Liam. Liam was the architect. And so each book, each of the characters, they either have a trade or something that can enhance the business, basically.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so in The Cost of Love, this character, Antonio, he is an estimator, but he has a degree in business and I believe engineering also. So he adds another layer or another level, I'm not sure which would be the proper way of saying it, to the business. So they each have a background to run the business, basically.
Oh,
And
okay.
in each story I do, one of the readers seem to really enjoy, the fans of the Jenkins family. In each of the story, there's a Sunday brunch. Their grandmother, matriarch, wants her family to always eat together, eat, pray together, and things of that nature. But she insists that they show up for Sunday brunch. And Sunday brunch is this big, huge, banquet like every Sunday. And their family is so huge. So, they live in a mansion, and the whole family, generations, show up on Sunday for Sunday brunch. And so that's a big part of the series also.
Okay. All right. Now, how many books when you were on before? I'm trying to recall it. But seems like you had like 30 books or something like that. Is that a close?
I can't remember then, but right now I'm either at 43. I think I'm at 43 now.
Okay. I knew there were a lot. I knew it was like more than 12 or more than 24.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I knew it was quite a few.
Yeah, and those are, some are indie, some are traditional in that number. Yeah.
Okay. And so what do you like most about the writing that you do in terms of how you present it to the reader? Like, what do you like most about doing that?
Yeah, I think what I enjoy most of my stories, even if they're the series characters aren't related, I really try to create this family vibe through, like, even with my Atlanta's Finest series, they are a group of security or personal security specialists, but they're a family, a connection, whereas, kind of family driven, sort of speak, even though they're friends, co-workers, but they come across as a family. And that's the same with the Jenkins family, with the Reunited series. So that's one of the things I really am pro family with my stories. What do I enjoy? I think what I enjoy and hopefully readers enjoy is every book is different. I really, really, especially the more books I write, now that you learn a little bit more every book you write. So I try to really incorporate things I've been learning, and then try to make sure that when a reader picks up my book, they feel like they know that they're going to get an enjoyable story that might not be like that next person's story. And, it'll be unique, but still hopefully enjoyable.
Now, are they all with males featured as the main character, or is it a variety?
Well, they're all romance novels. And I would say for some reason, usually even when I'm planning my stories, the male characters, the ideas for the male character comes before, I think of those before the female character. Not sure why, but it usually works out that way. I don't know if it's just easier or, so when I'm mentioning a story, I often say, Ashton's story, or, I usually mention the guys more quicker than I mention the heroines. Not sure why though. Yeah. Not sure if I even thought about that really, but
Okay. So how long have you been writing? When did your first book come out?
my first book came out in the spring of 2012. So what is
Well,
that?
you've done
12
a lot of writing in a short period of time.
years. Yeah, 12 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have 40 something books. That's a lot. That's
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
writing in a short period of time.
it
So you
is.
write full time?
I do. I didn't
Oh,
start out writing full time, but the last few years I've been writing full time.
okay. And if you were to give someone advice who wants to be like, how far in were you before you made the decision in terms of book count? How far and what made you decide I want to do this full time?
Ooh, how far in was I? I might have had, I can't remember. I probably had at least maybe 10, 12 books, maybe even more than that before I did it full time. Because I eased into full time, whereas like was originally working full time, then started working part time or
Okay.
doing some consulting work. And so I kind of eased into it. So it's kind of hard to say because I still did, even though I was writing full time, I still did some consulting on the side. Um, so yeah, I would say tell anybody, don't quit your day job right away.
Well, I tell people that about and writing full time is kind of like being in business.
It is.
And I'm an
Totally.
author too, but that's not my primary source of income at all.
Okay.
But I tell people if you have an idea and you have a little money to get started, make sure start part-time and make sure you have proof of concept before you, and even then you might want to wait. Then you need to wait till you get your revenue up to a certain point that it can sustain your lifestyle. You don't
It
want to
helps.
out poverty. Oh,
Yeah, it
yeah,
definitely helps. And
yeah.
it's up and down, especially these days, yeah.
Yeah, you
I
have to be
still enjoy
flexible.
it to a certain every now and then I think like, okay, maybe it's time to do something different and then do this part-time, but then more story ideas come and I just kind of keep going. So we'll see.
Well, if you're able, you wouldn't have that many books unless you were indie and traditional, because you wouldn't have been able to publish that many books in that shorter period of time. Because your books are trade size, they're not like the small paperback romances.
No, they average probably anywhere from, I don't know, 225 pages up to 300 and some pages, maybe.
Okay, so yeah, so you your writing, like some romance authors are putting out like 4 books a year, but they're the smaller, size. They're less word counts and so forth. So for romances, but yours look more like, now they have a category women's fiction, which is kind of like quasi romance and mainstream, but featuring a woman as a main
Yeah.
character.
I've actually considered writing, trying my hand at women's fiction, but I know even if I write women's fiction, there'll be some elements of romance. It might not be as much, but there definitely will be romantic elements in it.
Okay, so you're a romantic at heart.
Definitely. I love love.
And how do you keep you said every story is different. I find for the most part, romances all have the same plot. And people want they want the happily ever after at the end. People who
Yeah,
do romance, that's like a requirement.
it is. It is. You have to, if it doesn't have that happily ever after or happily for now, then technically it's not a romance.
Okay.
And so yeah, I mean, I love reading romance, so I can't even see not writing it in some capacity, I guess.
So who are the romance writers that you read?
Oh, I read all different that I read. When I first started, it was mainly, Frances Ray, Brenda Jackson, Maureen Smith. Then when I first started, now it's all over the board. Doesn't matter the nationality. Usually I still stay within, I don't read too much like dark romance. Usually I read probably majority romantic suspense. I really enjoy Katie Rose, Kalia Cross, um, AC Arthur. There's a ton. I hate to start naming because then you start forgetting people.
Well, that's okay. That just gives us you said you love to read romance, so that's why I
Oh
was
yeah,
wondering, some of the
yeah,
writers that you mentioned.
yeah. Half the time I might not even know who the author is. If I see one that sounds interesting, I get it. Yeah.
Mhm. And so, do you find when I read a book, when I read books, because I'm a writer, I'll read the book, and then as I'm reading, I'll say, I might have said that differently. Do you ever do that?
Oh yeah, I think that's natural. Or
Oh,
I'll be like,
okay.
oh wow, that was an interesting way, a nice twist, or.
Uh-huh.
I just think it's just part of human nature. I won't say to critique, but to,
Oh, it's not. It's more
you
like
know,
observations.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You do
Yeah,
notice
because
different things, or even with movies, I noticed where you're waiting for that turning point at a certain point in the movie and things of that nature. So yeah, those things I noticed probably without trying to notice them. You just
okay,
know, like
yeah,
at
not
this
it's not
point, something
intentional.
should happen.
Yeah, it's not like you're doing it for like a book report or anything like that.
Right, exactly.
Just as you're reading, you notice things.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I noticed, and since you mentioned movies, there's there are a lot of Black-centered romance books, but you know, the whole rom-com, romantic comedy, or just a straight romance. We don't see that as much, or maybe it could be out there and I'm missing it somehow. Most of the time, it seems like the relationship type movies are more that, you know, that feature us are more either revenge or some kind of
Drama.
drama. Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
real romance. It's
Yeah.
more like trauma. It could be, you know.
And it's funny you say that because I was mentioning that to someone recently. And what it does, it just makes me want to write more. Because one of the things that, and I'm sure they're out there, I might not have seen all of them or see, you know, I would really love to see more of our movies that kind of shed our Black men in a more positive light. I did see one actually this weekend. Can't think of the name of it. I know it was a Terry McMillan feature this weekend, and it was an enjoyable story. It really showed the Black male character in a positive light, and it's like it would really be nice to see more movies like that versus the revenge or the abuser, or
Right.
you know, it would be wonderful. You
Yeah,
know, and they're out
or they
there.
just
Don't get
die.
me wrong, they're out there. It's just they you see more of the drama ones more so
Right,
than you know, those real true, you know, make you sigh romance.
right, right. You know, or one that's just like a fun story.
Yeah.
Just-
That's not real silly, you know,
Right,
like that's not real silly, you know.
right. That's yeah,
Yeah.
like over the top, silly,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Just a romantic comedy, or just a romance. Just straight, like they do for, uh, you know, the
Okay.
majority culture. I put it like that. So
Yeah.
I would love to see more of that. And you know, the stories are out there because people are
They're
writing.
out there because I know a lot of the authors that are writing them, you know. So
Yes.
hopefully they're in the works. Hopefully they're coming, you know.
Hopefully, I know Beverly Jenkins just got option for a TV series for one of her. I think it's with Netflix or something, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But she just recently got signed something for one of her series, one of her contemporary series.
Yeah. I mean, Brenda Jackson, she's doing a couple of,
Yes, Brenda
you know,
Jackson is
so
too.
I think they're coming. I'm just hoping that they, you know, those that direct or produce really shine a positive light on the stories, you know.
Right. So show us a copy of your cover one more time and
Okay.
let people know where they can
Okay.
get a copy of
The Cost of Love is available everywhere in ebook and paperback.
Okay. And if they want to connect with you on social media or wherever, are you Sharon C. Cooper pretty much everywhere? Is it author Sharon?
It varies, but if they go to my website, SharonCooper.net, it has all the links to my social media. Be that as Instagram,
Okay.
Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter. And so they if they just remember my website, SharonCooper.net, it'll take them now. They'll see everything.
Okay. Well, Sharon, thank you for returning as a guest again on Black
It's
Authors.
my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. I appreciate it.
And keep writing.
I will. Thank you.
Congratulations on
All
that.
right. Thanks so much. And thanks for all the support you give authors. We really appreciate it.
Okay. Well, we love doing it. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, you have a great evening, and we'll
Thank
see you
you.
somewhere down the road when
Okay.
the next
All
book
right.
comes.
Take care. Thanks
Okay.
again.
Same to you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. So we're going to give away our book that we mentioned, or we're going to post the trivia. So, and because Rhonda is not on yet, you'll have to listen to the trivia and then maybe she'll be on. First of all, before I bring on the next guest, Let me check again and see if she said anything else. Because normally if she said she would be a little late, she would be on now. And so I just want to make sure that I know what's going to be happening in the next hour. So, because it's helpful to know. So let me see if she messaged me or not. And when it's live, anything can happen. And let's see. She had an appointment, somebody's late, and she said that she doesn't think she's going to make it. Okay, so let me message her back. Okay, so I apologize for that. I just want to make sure that she knows that I saw her message. So our next guest he's a doctor, and we appreciate him joining us in the evening. He's based in Dallas. I don't know if he's in Dallas right now, but I met him. Well, Rhonda and I both met him when we went to New Orleans together a few weeks ago for the Black Librarians Conference, and he's wearing his Black Authors Matter t-shirt too. He bought his shirt at the conference. So, Dr. Brian, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you very much for having me, Gwen. It's my pleasure. Appreciate it.
Okay, so Dr. Brian, I'm waiting to call you Dr. Brian instead of Dr. Williams. You had your book, and you did a conference or a speech about your book at the conference. I wasn't able to attend because I was in the vendor section, but the title is very thought-provoking. And the title, I see it behind you, is called The Bodies Keep Coming. And you are a trauma surgeon, and part of what you talk about in your book is your work as a trauma surgeon. So first of all, tell the audience what exactly a trauma surgeon does.
Well, a trauma surgeon is a specialized surgeon whose focus is on treating patients that have life or limb-threatening injuries. So what does that mean? If you're in a car accident and you're near death, you'd come to the ER, the trauma surgeon would be part of that team that would take care of you. And if you need to go to the operating room, we would take you. A lot of my work has been dealing with gun violence victims. So gunshots to the abdomen, to the chest, a lot of young Black men. That has been the bulk of my career for over 2 decades. So that was kind of the impetus for this book, was to really just give a raw and honest description of my life as a Black trauma surgeon on the front lines of this epidemic, but also educate the reader, entertain you, of course, but also in the end, like really inspire you to action by discussing these bigger issues: gun violence, racism, healthcare disparities, and try to do a lot of storytelling, but take you into a world and talk about these much bigger issues and try to inspire change.
So seems like we hear about shootings in every major metro area. There's shooting deaths almost daily. And so the people who end up in the emergency room, do you work at a public hospital or is it a private hospital?
My career has always been at public hospitals. That's why I chose to work in these hospitals, because I wanted to take care of patients that had nowhere else to go. I felt that that's what it meant to be a doctor, was to provide the highest quality care to anyone. So from Atlanta, Dallas, Chicago, Boston, and Tampa, like I focus on working in these county hospitals so I can be part on the front lines of the people that need the most help. And with that, I've seen a lot, right? Of course, we'll talk a lot about gun violence because I'm a trauma surgeon, but also there's just the disparities in health that really impact Black and Brown communities. But by that, it also impacts us all. So this is what I want to talk about in the book, was not just what I'm seeing, but what this means to all of us who are paying the price for this mass violence that's occurring and the broken healthcare system that we have to live with.
Mm. So take us through your average day as a trauma surgeon. Is there such a thing for you?
Well, I would say, yeah, this is a great question. When I say what I love about trauma is that every day is different, right? You show up for your shift and you have no idea what is going to come through the door. And that's what I like about it. You start making a lot of quick decisions and every day could be different. But let me kind of describe what would be an average week, because one day I will be on duty for traumas. So that anybody that comes in that's injured, car accident, gunshots, stabbings, people that get hurt at work, I would take care of those patients. Some days I'm in the intensive care unit, taking care of people that are on life support. And other days I may be teaching students and residents or doing research. So there's a variety of things that occur throughout the week. But what I like the most is being on call. I like being on call with the trauma team, teaching and taking care of patients that are coming in near death. I know that may sound strange to folks that don't do this work, but it gives me a lot of job satisfaction knowing that I get to help people on what's possibly the worst days of their lives.
Yeah, some people could say it's macabre, but it's work that if you're in the situation, you want someone who's dedicated to be working on you. You want someone that takes the job seriously. So as a trauma surgeon, do you have to detach yourself? Do you have to you have to take all the emotion out of your work in order to do your job well?
Yeah, I get what you're asking, and since we're seeing so much needless death and suffering, and that is routine for us, people wonder, how do you keep to do that every day? How can you keep doing that every day, day after day, month after month, year after year? At some point, do you dissociate who you are from the work you are doing? And I tell you, I never want to get to that point where that split, because once you lose that sort of connection to the people you are caring for, then that part of humanity is gone. And I always want to feel something for my patients and my families and the families I'm caring for. However, I recognize that as a professional, in the moment, you have to be focused on what you're doing. If someone comes in with multiple gunshot wounds, their pressure is dropping, and they're going into cardiac arrest, that is not the time for your trauma surgeon to start taking an inventory of their emotions, right? That's when you get to work and do what you can do to save a life. So I've been fortunate that I've had a lot of great training from people who are masters of this specialty. And I'd be able to use that to make myself a better surgeon and ensure that when the time comes, I can perform as needed.
Where did you go to school? Where did you get your medical school training?
Medical school, I was at the University of South Florida in Tampa. I did my undergrad at the Air Force Academy. Did my residency at Brigham and Women's Hospital, which is one of Harvard's teaching hospitals. Went down to Atlanta for my fellowship at Grady Hospital, which is part of Emory University. And then came to Dallas to work at Parkland Hospital, which is the major public hospital in Dallas.
Okay. So you've been in different metro areas.
And spent some time in Chicago too, Gwen. I've been around.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Chicago, unfortunately, they seem to not run out of, you said the bodies keep coming. Seems like every weekend there's a large number of people being shot, and a certain percentage of those die every weekend.
Yeah, but I want to say Chicago has a lot going for it. It's in the news a lot for gun violence, but I think that's unfair that as a city, they bear the brunt of the national narrative about the impact of gun violence, because what is happening across communities across the country. And here's what I want, in the book, I want to bring this part out, is that when we're talking about gun violence, we have to talk about race. Don't mind us. There's a couple of dogs losing their mind.
I have a cat, and he was meowing at the door a few minutes ago.
Right. So we have to talk about race, right? A couple of years ago, gun violence became the #1 killer of children and teens in America. And that led the national news. We were still talking about it years later. But for the decade prior to that, it was the #1 killer of Black children and teens. And this narrative that we focus on at the national level it does minimize the impact it has been having and continues to have on Black and Brown communities. So in the book, I wanted to bring that out, bring that to the forefront and say, you're going to talk about gun violence, you can talk about everything. Because if you don't, none of us are safe until we really address all the truly complex issues involving race and violence and policy.
Okay, so what do you see as a couple of those factors that people are missing? They're not really focusing on thinking about. Because we hear about the end result is what we hear about the tragedy, but not what leads up to it or what's the reason for it.
So there's two big buckets we could talk about. There are the obvious things that have to do with the guns themselves, right? We can talk about raising the minimum age to purchase a weapon, background checks, stop gun trafficking, banning assault rifles. But if all that happened, I will tell you that would not change anything about my job as a trauma surgeon, because the patients I'm dealing with, there are other issues that contribute to the endemic violence that leads to gun injuries and death. And that has to do with structural racism and how we have perpetuated policies that put certain communities at risk. So in my mind, like providing stable housing, good education, good jobs, these are all things that contribute to creating healthy communities that are free of violence. So there's two parts. The obvious that we talk about a lot in the national media, and this other thing that seems rather nebulous, but is equally as important, and in my mind, can be even more impactful to save a lot more lives. And I spend time in the book really trying to make this understandable to a general reader who may have no background in policy or research to understand there are simple things that we can do to save lives that will help everyone.
Okay. Yeah, some of the things that are proposed, and while they may sound good, and they might do a little good, but a lot of the people that you've described or that you treat, most likely, they don't buy their guns legally, so a background check is not going to do anything. And I don't know if anything can be done about the illegal gun sales, because they're illegal and there's no system. There's really no system to stop that. So it's almost like we are betwixt and between. We're kind of bound by where we are, in that it's a gun for every American citizen as far as gun ownership or gun possession.
There's more guns than people in this country.
There's more than, but I mean, at least one for each American.
But you're making a very good point, Gwen. Making a very good point that gun violence prevention is very complex. We don't just have one gun violence problem in this country. We have many gun violence problems with many different root causes, which require different types of solutions. We could talk about suicides, mass shootings, the community violence that is the bulk of my practice, intimate partner violence, these are different types of gun violence, and they have different root causes, so they require different types of means to address them. And for the community violence that I deal with, as I mentioned before, banning these weapons, background checks, all those kind of things will probably have a minimal impact on saving lives and reducing injury. Again, healthcare, education, jobs, housing, that will uplift communities and lead to less violence. There's plenty of studies that prove that.
Yeah, education is the ticket, and that has been neglected for decades, unless you are in a middle class or upper middle class community. But it's almost like so many children are just left behind in terms of the education system is horrible, and they keep spending money, but it's not getting to the kids. And so it's almost like nobody even bats an eye when they say only 25% of the children are reading at grade level. That's a horrible thing. And so they're going to end. You're not putting them on a path to a future. And so by the time they get to middle school, they probably know what their paths are, because children are really perceptive about things. So they
are.
gravitate to some of the worst elements, because they don't know what their future is. I hate sometimes when I see people interviewed and they're young people, like in their teens, and they're saying they don't know, they probably won't live to be 25. Just the idea that they are even thinking that, that
it's infuriating, right? It's infuriating, Gwen, that we have a country that is accepted in the norm for so many children. Yes. When I meet with these kids and I ask them what they fear most, many will say they fear that they will get shot, or someone they know will get shot. I go into a room and ask people who know someone who's been shot, and over 90% of the hands go up. These are kids, these are children and teens that are living in these sorts of environments. We can do something about it. We should do something about it. We have the means. It's just a matter of, committing to it at a national level to make that happen.
Yeah. So if someone were interested in trauma surgery as a career, what would you, let's say they're 12 years old, and they're pretty good student. So what would you recommend that they do if they wanted to be on the path to do what you do, or any kind of surgery? Because surgery is one of the higher forms of medicine, just because of the really the hand skills. You have to, your hands have to be steady, and you have to really know anatomy.
Trauma surgery is the best specialty in medicine, Gwen. And if there's a 12-year-old that out there, I would recommend, one is to go to my website, brianwilliamsmd.com, and send me an email, because it is important to get connected with people early that can help mentor you along this path. And that's one of the things I enjoy doing. But just in short, it's going to involve going to college, getting a college degree, 3 to 4 years. Med school is 4 years, and then your residency after that. Surgery is a minimum of 5 years of training. And then I did another 2 years of research and another 2 years of fellowship. So you're talking about years of training. Mm-hmm. But when you're 12, that is the time to get set on that path, because really you have to have the grades. You have to have the grades. But also another important part is having someone that's been on that path before that can tell you what the pitfalls are and what things that you should be doing and should not do. And that is something that we, as Black people, need to ensure that we're doing for youngsters that want to go into this profession, because there are so few Black men in medicine, less than 3%. So the role models are not there. So we all have an obligation And the folks in my circle have a desire to ensure that we can increase that number moving forward. And right now, the forces are against that happening, right? There's anti-DEI forces rolling across this country that are working against us to make that happen.
Now, what made you interested in it? Like, when did you have the epiphany that, hey, I want to be a trauma, or I want to be a doctor, and then doctor first, and then a trauma surgeon?
Well, this is a funny story, Gwen. I did not plan to become a doctor. It was never even on my radar. My first career, when I finished at the academy, I was an aeronautical engineer. So I was an Air Force officer doing engineering. And it was during that time that I got this bug that I wanted to become a doctor. And this is how I know it's important to have people that can help direct you through the process, because I had no one, and I was just learning on my own how to apply to medical school, and then the residency following that, and then the fellowship. But I decided I wanted to become a doctor. Didn't know what kind of doctor I wanted to be, just become a doctor because I felt I could help people with that profession. And during my medical schools, when I did my rotation on trauma surgery, we do different rotations on surgery, psychiatry, obstetrics. Day 2 of trauma surgery, I was on a night call. I described this night in the book when a gunshot victim came in, and I was just mesmerized how the team went to work to save this patient. And it was right then I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be a trauma surgeon and do what these people do.
Oh, okay. Wow. Now I have another question. I watch some of the medical shows, and I wonder, I don't know if you watch any of them, but I wonder how close they are to what actually happens in a hospital. I'll tell you the ones that I like them for the medicine. I've actually learned quite a bit about medicine and just different ailments, different diseases. And they seem to, some of the shows seem to pick some rare medical disease that hardly anybody gets. But I like just learning about that. And one of my favorites is The Resident. And I don't know if it's returning or not. But I also like Chicago Med. That's the other one that I like. So
my number one pick for medical shows is Scrubs. Scrubs is it's a comedy, half-hour comedy, but the characters that are on it, those are people I know. They're over the top, but those are actual people you will come across in the hospital, and that is, I feel, the most realistic medical show out there. And I think a lot of folks that are in medicine, we talk about that, we kind of agree, because there are caricatures of people that we actually deal with in the hospital all the time.
Oh, okay. Because I've seen it. Is it on Netflix or one of the platforms?
I don't know. I watched it when it was still on. I've not checked it out lately.
Okay, well, I'll check it out because I like medical shows. I like legal shows too. So with the legal shows, I learn about the law, and they actually have actual cases and precedents, and I learned a lot about rights and all of that just watching the legal shows. Law and Order is my favorite, but I like the older ones. Some of the newer ones they went weird to me. But anyway, so
well, if I had a chance to do a television show when there were some things I would make different about these 1-hour medical dramas to make them more realistic and pertinent for the times we are in. Okay. If I had that opportunity, that's what I would do.
Okay. Well, would they have the same entertainment value? Because that's what Hollywood is looking for in it.
Better entertainment value. Better.
So how was the reception been? When did your book come out? Exactly.
Book came out September of last year. So we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the release. And I've been really pleased with the reception. The launch, the beginning, a little bit impacted because at the time I was running for Congress. So that kind of truncated my book tour. and impacted some of the outlets that were willing to cover the book since I was running for office at the time. But even a year later, I'm still getting emails and social media messages that talk about how the book has impacted them. Got one today. I'm still asking to come speak on the book. I have events booked out through January of next year. So it's steady out there, making the rounds, and I've been very happy. I mean, I tell you what, Gwen, I was happy to just have the book done. Like, that was enough. Just hold the book when it came to me. I got the box of author copies. That was enough for me. Everything else has just been a bonus. So I'm just enjoying this ride, trying to be present, and hopefully when people read the book, when they're done, they've learned something, they've enjoyed the book, but also they're inspired to go out and make the world a better place.
Well, I like your title, and one of our regular viewers said, it's such a great interview, and please, Dr. Williams, I don't know if you're on TikTok and Instagram, but this person recommended you get on TikTok and Instagram to reach the younger audience.
Yes,
there's so many platforms and not enough
social
time.
Media overload.
Yeah,
Social media
that's
overload.
the way
I'm trying to write, Gwen. I'm trying to write.
I know, I understand it because I'm not on TikTok, and I mean, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram a little bit, but there's so many.
I will say,
you can split yourself. To me, you can just be too taken in too many different directions, and it will be hard to be good at all of them. So I try to focus on the two that I can be good at.
I'm mostly active on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Okay.
Dabble in Instagram.
Okay.
I may have my daughter do a TikTok at some point. She can handle that. But really, if you want to contact me, if you go to my website, I answer all of my emails.
Okay.
And you will get the emails come to me. I will respond to you. And like I said, Twitter and LinkedIn are probably where I'm most active when it comes to social media.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot, as long as somebody's on one of them, they can be contacted. But
tell your viewer, point taken. I get it.
Okay.
Point taken.
Okay. And her name is Mary. I love the title. A title is really important. A title and a cover on a book are really important. And your title is really spot on. So it makes a person stop. In fact, the title is such that it could be like a thriller, a suspense novel. Is that kind of title. And so is the book like anecdotes, or is it your story, or is it a combination of those things?
The book is a memoir. It is my story, and I wanted to pull you as a reader into this world of a Black trauma surgeon, see what it's like in the trauma bay, in the OR, in the family room, but also explore these bigger issues that are happening outside of the hospital. So there had to be some universal themes in this that anybody can relate to, right? Gun violence, healthcare, social justice. So even though I'm the character in the book that you're following along, it's really about these bigger issues, and you're seeing these through my eyes, how I feel about them and interpret them. But in the end, it's not about me. And I hope at the end of the book, man, my goal was when the book was done, you didn't even think about me. You were thinking about, okay, I need to go out and do what I can to end racism today. I'm going to go out and end gun violence. I'm going to go out and make sure everybody has health care. I am going to go out and be an agent of positive change. So that was the goal. But I wanted to pull you in and I had to hook you. I had to hook you first and then take you on this ride. And once I had you through chapter 1, I got you at that point. Just strap on. We're going to go for a good ride.
Okay, well, I look forward to reading it. Rhonda got her copy at the conference. My copy is on order, so I look forward to reading it. And thank you for taking the time to be on Black Authors Matter TV, and continued success to you as a trauma surgeon.
Thank you very much, Gwen. I appreciate being on here. And again, you viewers, I'm a speaker. Reach out to me. I can come speak at your event. Virtual book clubs. I love doing those as well. And
Okay.
again, hit my website, brianwilliamsmd.com.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Brian, and you have a great evening.
Good night, all.
Okay. All right. That was Dr. Brian. He is a trauma surgeon, and we met him when we went to New Orleans. And Ron and I are going to be, in a couple of weeks, we'll be at the Harlem Book Fair, and we're going to meet some more people there too. So, some of them may end up on future episodes of the show. But this final guest for tonight is also someone that I met at the Black Librarians Conference. And it's funny because her name is Janice Newsum, and we met years ago, and she's from Houston. It's funny, I had to go all the way to New Orleans to meet her again. She used to come to our store, she said, when we had our store years ago. And then I found out at the conference that she is over, I think you're over the Coretta Scott King Book Awards. And so I said, we have to have her on Black Authors Matter TV. So welcome, Janice. Thank you for being a guest on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. And yes, I am the chair of the Coretta Scott King Book Awards Roundtable of the American Library Association.
Okay, so the Coretta Scott King Book Awards is that is an arm of the Black Caucus.
Yes, it is. It is one. It's one of the roundtables. There are, I think, approximately 19 roundtables, and I've forgotten how many divisions there are, but we are one of the roundtables of ALA.
Okay, so, but for the Coretta Scott King Book Awards, you all do the evaluations of the books and make the awards. Is that correct? Am I correct?
So the CSK BART, the initials are CSK BART. We honor the legacy of Mrs. Coretta Scott King as well as Dr. King. And what we do is we promote award-winning children's and young adult literature that is written by African-American authors or illustrated by African-American authors and that depict the Black experience. And so what happens is that publishers submit titles that they believe are appropriate and eligible for that award. And the award is given annually. And so they submit, we have a jury of 7 people around the country, and we have a jury chair, and they submit these titles, and jury members read these titles and then ultimately pick several to be either honor books or to be the actual award-winning title. We also have another award that we give, which is called the John Steptoe New Talent Award. And that award is given to an African-American author and an African-American illustrator who is new to the world of writing and authorship.
Okay, so that's for someone who's like a debut author.
Yes, that would be a debut author. You're exactly right.
Okay, so how long has the Coretta Scott King Book Awards been around?
Since the first award was given in 1970. So we actually celebrated our 55th anniversary at the American Library Association annual conference in San Diego this past June. And the way this came about, in 1969, there were 2 African-American librarians who had attended the ALA conference, and they were discussing the fact that no African-Americans had won an ALA award. And ALA gives out a lot of awards, most notably the Newbery Awards and the Caldecott Award. And no African-American, and ALA is 150 years old now. And so in 1969, no African American had ever won an award. And as they were discussing this, a publisher overheard them. And the publisher said, then start your own award. And that is how CSK came about. And so they organized this award. At first, ALA did not recognize it, but they started by giving the award and having an annual breakfast at the American Library Association annual conference. And it was nearly, if my memory serves me right, it was nearly 13 or 14 years before ALA finally recognized this as an official award under the umbrella of the American Library Association.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, see, that's a story on don't wait for somebody to do something. You do it and then force the issue.
Exactly.
That's
the
if
two
you wait
the
on
two
other people, gonna be waiting forever.
That's right. They're never going to do it for you, right? So we have to take control and do it ourselves. And so the two librarians they're now deceased, but Mabel McKissick and Glendon Greer. And they were at that conference that year in '69. And they came back in 1970 and decided to create their own award. And they did give that award. And the first award was given to an author who had written a biography of Martin Luther King Jr. And let me think, the title was, the author was Lily Patterson. I can't right now, the title of her book is not coming to mind. Many of the books that were 1970, 1980s, they have now gone out of print. And we are trying to get publishers to bring some of those titles back because they're just great literature. And it's a lasting contribution to the literary world. But books do go out of print, and so we're trying as much as possible. Yes.
Sometimes they come back.
Yes, sometimes they do come back. Sometimes they do come back. And I forgot to mention, we also give a Lifetime Achievement Award, which is called the Virginia Hamilton Award. And that is given to an author for a body of work. Okay, so our winner this last time was, who was the 2024 winner? Oh my goodness. I can't think of Christopher Paul Curtis. It was Christopher Paul Curtis.
Okay.
Who was our Virginia Hamilton Lifetime Achievement Award winner.
Okay. And now you only get one award per year,
no,
correct? Coretta Scott King, is that one award? That's
the Coretta Scott King actually is 3 awards. And sometimes there's more because we do have honor books. So we give the John Steptoe New Talent, we give the Virginia Hamilton Lifetime Achievement, and then we give the Coretta Scott King Book Award. Okay. And that's the big award at which we celebrate all of these winners at our annual breakfast every June or whenever the American Library Association annual conference is. And so in 2025, it will be held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We were in San Diego this past June, but next June it will be held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay.
So what are the requirements for people who might be interested in submitting their work for consideration?
So the first thing is that it has to be by an African-American author or illustrator. And then the second thing is that it has to depict the African-American experience. And the other, I'm trying to think, there is specific selection criteria. I'm not on the jury. I'm just heading the organization, but it must portray some aspect of the Black experience. It has to have been published in the United States, and it must be published in the year preceding the presentation of the award. So the books that won in 2024 were actually published in 2023.
Okay.
And it has to have well-drawn characters. It has to have a clear plot. It's actually written for a young audience, and it can be in any one of 3 categories, which could be preschool to grade 4, grades 5 through 8, or grades 9 through 12.
Okay. So it's for children's books.
Yes, they are all children's books up to teenage years.
12th grade. So, because I've heard a lot about it. It just it was really just kind of, I guess, fate that I met you at the conference, because I have been hearing about the award for years.
Yes.
But I had no idea that any part of it took place in Houston. Anybody involved was in Houston. I didn't
was
know.
connected in Houston, right? We have several librarians and Coretta Scott King Book Awards members who are in the Texas area. So there's some that are in Fort Worth, there's some in the Dallas area. And so actually we have members who are all over the nation. So members who are, if you are an ALA member, you can also become a member of the Coretta Scott King Book Awards Roundtable.
Okay. All right. And so the ALA members, though, they have to be a librarian or studying to be a librarian, don't they?
No. Actually, the lady who chaired our breakfast in San Diego is not a librarian. And so you don't have to be a librarian, but you do have to have an interest in libraries and good literature. And so she actually is an adjunct professor at Texas Women's University. I believe it's Texas Women's, where she is an adjunct professor, but she is in literacy campus. And so, no, you don't have to be a librarian. You don't have to be a licensed librarian.
Yeah, I thought it was only for librarians. And otherwise, you have to be like an associate member or something like that. You know how
you can actually be a full-fledged member.
Okay.
And you don't have to be a librarian. We have publishers who do become members of ALA. We have people who are in the book business who become members of ALA. We have people who are involved in books, like they provide a service in terms of books. They may have an app, they may have a library management system, they may do book fairs, but anyone who has an interest in books and literature and libraries, you're welcome to be a member of ALA. And once you have joined ALA, then you can join the Coretta Scott King Book Awards Roundtable.
Okay. So in the process, so you don't do the judging of the books?
I don't, no.
Okay.
As a chair, I'm not on the jury. We do
Okay.
have a jury, and we have people on the jury who are in Jersey, who are in New York, who are in Ohio. The person who is the jury chair for this year, and our terms are 2 years. So she was jury chair for 2024, and she'll be jury chair for 2025. She's actually in San Antonio.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's people all over Texas doing all kinds of things.
Yes.
As before you, and I'm pretty sure you met him at the conference, Dr. Brian Williams. He was the guest on before you. And he was in Dallas. So he was at the conference with his book about his memoir about, and he spoke too at the conference. I didn't get to attend the sessions, but I could hear some of what was going on, because it was.
What was his title?
The Bodies Keep Coming.
The Bodies Keep Coming. Actually, my husband attended the National Conference of African American Librarians, and he was there with me, and he went to that presentation. And I was really surprised because typically my husband goes to these conferences and he says, don't bring home any books. Don't you bring home any books. You got too many books already, right? And here he comes after he goes to that presentation and he's like, I got the book and I got it signed for you. He was so excited and so happy that he had done something really good for me.
Well,
Because
yeah,
I didn't get to, yeah, I couldn't go to the presentation either.
because you were manning your booth. Were you
Yes.
the whole time?
Yes.
So, if a person wanted to submit their book for next year, I'm assuming this year's already done.
No, they're still receiving submissions,
Okay.
and they will receive submissions, I believe, until November. And then no, it must be the end of October, because by December they have to have picked the winners. And then the winners are announced at what is called Live Learn X, and that's going to be in Phoenix in 2025. And so that's the venue where ALA announces all of their winners, whether it's the Batchelder, Puree, Belpre, Newberry, Caldecott, Coretta Scott King, Stonewall, Cybert. So ALA gives out a lot of awards.
Okay. Yeah. And they meet annually, but the Black Caucus meets every other year.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So now BCALA, the Black Caucus of ALA, is an affiliate of ALA. So the structure is that we are actually a roundtable of ALA. They are an affiliate of ALA.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. So if a person wanted to submit their book, how would they go about doing it since the window is still open?
They can only submit through the publisher. So many of the publishers do know about our award, but if there is a new author who has a title that is being published or has been published in 2024, you simply go to your publisher and speak with your publisher about submitting the title to the Black Caucus Roundtable. I'm sorry, to the Coretta Scott King Roundtable.
Okay, so does it have to be, I think they're called the Big Five now, but I'm not sure. The five,
No.
Does it have to be one of the Big Five?
No.
Okay. Okay.
The only restriction is that it can't be self-published. But if you have any publisher, as long as it's published in the United States, it's any publisher. And so we spoke at NCAL at the conference in New Orleans. We spoke with several authors who were not familiar with ALA, and we said to them, go back and say to your publisher, I believe my book is eligible for this award. Please submit it.
Okay. So if any of you all are out there and you have a publisher, it doesn't have to be one of the Big Five. It can be one of the smaller publishing houses. And there are lots of publishers out there that are the smaller ones that are really, a lot of them put out a lot of titles every year. They're very prolific with putting books out. Then go to your publisher and see if they will submit your book for the Coretta Scott King Awards. Because that would be exciting. I know, Mary said it's an informative interview with Ms. Newsum. Mary's one of our regular viewers. And she's also one of the managers at the National Black Book Festival.
Yes. That and I learned so much by meeting and running into you again, because I was like, wait, I live right in Houston and I'm missing this festival. How could I miss this festival? I travel around the country going to festivals, right? And I missed the one in my own hometown.
But Houston's so big that something can be happening on the opposite side of town and it can be 30 or 40 miles away and still be in Houston.
Exactly.
But you don't know about it unless you hear about it through word of mouth or sometimes you see things on social media, or if there's advertising, but normally there's not like TV advertising for those kinds of things. It's normally
Right.
through social media or word of mouth. That's how most of the time people hear about it. So we
Right.
hope to see you at this year's festival for
You
sure.
you definitely will. There's no way I'm going to miss it this year.
Because I say sometimes you have to go all the way somewhere away from home to meet somebody that's from your hometown. And that's really
Exactly.
what that's really what happened. Um, now what tell us a little bit about what you do. You're in the library system yourself as a professional. So tell us a little bit
Yes.
about what you do.
Well, I actually started out as an elementary school librarian. So I began my library career. I was an elementary school teacher
Okay.
and was looking around for something else, right? I'm like, okay, I've been in the classroom now for 15 years. I don't really want to be a principal, but I would like to do something else and, maintain this career in education. And my sister-in-law lived in Columbus, Ohio, and she was a public librarian. And so I called her up and I said, tell me about librarianship. And so we talked, and she told me, her responsibilities, how she worked, her work schedule, that kind of thing. And I thought to myself, okay, I could become a librarian, but I need to be a school librarian because I do not want to give up summer vacation, Christmas holiday, spring
Okay.
break.
Okay.
Okay. And so
That is
I
a
decided,
benefit. Being
yes, I decided to become a school librarian. And so I actually worked at the Jack Yates High School as a high school librarian as well. And then I was offered an opportunity to get my doctorate at Florida State University. And I decided to do that. And I went to Florida State, got my doctorate, and then was offered a position as a professor at the University of Houston, Clear Lake. So in the Houston area, there are two school library programs. The University of Houston, Clear Lake is the one in Houston, and then there's one at Sam Houston State in Huntsville. But there are actually 5 librarian preparation programs in the state of Texas. We're a very fortunate state in that we do have a lot of programs that can prepare classroom teachers or whomever wants to become a librarian, whether that is public librarian, special librarian, academic librarian, school librarian. So there are different types of librarianship. And so I am currently an associate professor at the University of Houston, Clear Lake now.
okay. Now, what do you think about libraries as an institution and the future of libraries?
Well, I am very anxious about the future of libraries. I am very hopeful that we are in a phase that is going to pass. As they say, this too shall pass. Libraries are the bastions of available information. We provide access to information and accurate information. Now, we're in a period where people are trying to keep us from having the truth, okay? But libraries have always been about providing access to the truth, whatever that is, whatever genre that happens to be, whatever topic that is, whatever content that is. And librarians adhere to the principle and the ethics that intellectual freedom is a right, especially in this country, right? We're in a country where people should have the freedom to read and to learn whatever they want to read and learn. And no one should restrict that right. But at the moment, we are in a situation where there are forces that are trying to say there's information that you don't need to know. And so we're going to keep it from you. And we're going to keep it from your children as well. You know, I tell people in a library, there is something to offend everybody. Okay. But you don't have to read it. right? If you pick up something that you find offensive, you can put it down. And then as a parent, you have a right to say, well, I don't want my child reading this because my child is a minor and I'm making decisions for this minor. But you don't make decisions for my minor, okay? I make decisions for my child, not someone else. And so I may let my child read The Hate You Give, okay? You may not want your child to read The Hate You Give. You may not want your child to read The Giver. When I was in as a school librarian before I moved over to higher education, I had a parent who challenged The Giver, right? She didn't think her third grader should read that book. Well, my third grader had read it, and that's fine. You don't want your third grader to read it. You have every right to make that decision. But I let my third grader read it. And we sat down and we discussed it. We had a parent to challenge another book called Catch a Cloud because she thought it advocated sex for teenagers, right? The book did not advocate that, but it did say this is a reality, right? Those hormones are raging, and these are the things and the thoughts that these children are having, right? And to me, it always provides an opportunity for parents to have a discussion with their children. I read with my children. Before they could read, I read to my children. Yeah. And then when they could read, we read together. And if I thought it was something that they did not have the background of experiences or the wherewithal to handle or understand, then we could have a conversation about that and talk about that. And I'll be real honest with you. When my daughter was 6 years old, she said to me, Mama, why do women wear diapers? Okay. She had seen a commercial for feminine hygiene products, and she wanted to know. And so I was not going to say, you don't need to know that. No, because at some point in her life, she was going to need to know that. And so I gave her the information that she could handle at age 6, right? And then at age 12, I cried because, of course.
Well, it was 10 for me. It was age 10 for my daughter.
It was 10.
I was totally took me by surprise because I was 13. So, and my sister was 12. So I'm thinking, okay, 12,
Right.
It was 10. So I had
wow.
I had to have a speed course. But anyway, it was interesting. But we make it work. And you have to give them facts. That's one thing.
Exactly.
They need facts.
Right. And we need to be honest with our children. There are things that have happened in this country that no one is proud of. But in fact, they happened, right? My husband and I, in 2020, we became, again, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee during the Civil Rights era. So my husband was a member of the Black Panther Party. We protested, we marched, we were a part of that whole scene as young adults, high school students, college students, right? But in 2020, we were like, no, we're not getting out to the street anymore, right? But what we can do is we can help people understand historically where we have come from, right? And that's important for people to understand where we have come from and how we are in the position that we're in today. And so we started working with the social justice ministry in our church so that we can begin to educate our young people. The other thing that we discussed was that we felt that the Jewish culture does a great job of telling their story. And so we started going to the Holocaust Museum on their free Thursdays to hear, right? To hear their story, because we felt like one of the ways that we have fallen short is by not telling our story. We need to tell our story to our children. And there are people who don't want that story to be told, and we can't let that happen.
Well, Janice, we could go on for another half hour, but it's the end of our show. And so I want to make sure you come to the National Black Book Festival, October 17th to the 19th. It was great. meeting you at the conference. And for those who are out there, check out the Coretta Scott King Book Awards and what they have to offer. So we will see you next Tuesday on the next episode of Black Authors Matter TV. So everybody have a great night. And Janice, thanks again for being a guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I certainly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.